Let's get this party started!
He's shining a light in the dark corners of our media.
You are fake news.
Our government.
Handling of classified documents.
And our culture.
Don't trust anyone.
It's common sense amidst chaos.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome...
Here's your host, Ike Wingate.
Hello and welcome to the show. I am glad you are with us today as the Epstein Files are the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, we're about to be into the Christmas season and Jelly of the Month, as Cousin Eddie said, a gift that keeps on giving, and that's really what the Epstein Files are. If you're a Republican, these files have really backfired, I would argue, on Democrats specifically. And could this be the latest example of Democrats overplaying their hand due to their Trump derangement syndrome? Literally, they have gotten greedy and have had blind hatred for Trump, which has fast-tracked them into this mass attention on these Epstein files. I think there's no mistake that if President Trump didn't resist the full release of these files initially, then Democrats never would have talked about it. They would have buried it and manufactured some other controversy, and we never would have been discussing it. But now they're everywhere, and we have example after example of these files backfiring specifically on Democrats. And so we're going to show you some of those examples. Jasmine Crockett, exhibit number 1 for being embarrassed on national TV as she tries to defend her allegations against Lee Zeldin. I mean, you want us not to say that these Democrats have a low IQ, but they give us so many examples of stupidity that how could you not call it that? And the digging, the doubling down on digging her own grave, basically on live TV, is the latest example of that. And a congresswoman out of Florida has been charged with FEMA fraud. Yeah. Embezzling money from FEMA. She has since stepped down from one of her committees. It's only inevitable before she is likely removed from Congress. That's what should happen. That's what they did to Santos before he was actually found guilty of anything. They removed him. We also have details on a Somalian autism scam. Was that on your bingo card today? Probably not, but it's been happening in Minnesota to the tune of millions and millions of dollars, and we are going to show you that. And then where does that money go? It goes to fund terrorism, is what has been found. And Congressman Dan Crenshaw has been banned from international travel. I got to say, this is not surprising. And, of course, the funeral for Vice President Dick Cheney will show you who was in attendance and who was not. And J.D. Vance, Vice President, shows the truth behind the government shutdown and what Democrats tried to pull at the last minute. And it tells you everything you need to know. They were never really serious about avoiding this shutdown. And we'll have a guest with us. Attorney Seth Woodall will weigh in on the Democrats urging our military to defy the orders of the commander-in-chief. President Trump has called for sedition charges punishable by death, which has sent the liberal media in a tailspin today. He's calling for violence. He's calling for violence. The actual punishment for sedition is what he's talking about. He's not talking about a political assassination. It's so evident, the hypocrisy. When you have Democrats out there calling Republicans Nazis and fascists and saying things like we got to take matters into our own hands and we're going to punch them in the mouth and all of these various descriptors for violence, And when the president calls for the charge of an actual crime and the punishment associated with it, they are quick to say, oh, this is so dangerous. So we'll ask Seth Woodall about that and the legal ramifications, plus new job numbers are in, and it's a big win for Trump's immigration enforcement based on a court ruling. And Rosie O'Donnell, Rosie, look at Rosie. She's gone totally crazy. She may be the latest defendant in a Trump lawsuit after her incorrect, slanderous statement regarding the president. So we will get into all of that and more. Of course, we want to welcome our friends joining us on the Right Side Broadcast Network, syndicating this show as scheduling allows. Thank you for being here. If you are wondering who the heck this guy is, you can follow me at Ike Wingate on X. If you happen to be watching on X right now, please heart this post and repost. And if you're watching on all the other platforms, hit that thumbs up and share this live. That will help us in the algorithms, okay? And of course, we want your comments in the chat throughout the show. And that is something that we will refer to often. I see Bree, I see Joe, I see Coupon, all in the chat happening already. So please keep your comments coming there. We go now to this first story, which is the Epstein Files. At the direction of the president, he has signed this order to turn over the documents. The DOJ has 30 days now to produce them. He says, at my direction, the Department of Justice has already turned over close to 50,000 pages of documents to Congress. Do not forget, the Biden administration did not turn over a single file or page related to Democrat Epstein, nor did they even ever speak about him. That's true. Democrats have used the Epstein issue, which affects them far more than the Republican Party, in order to try to distract from our amazing victories. I think this gives you more insight into President Trump's resistance to these files, knowing that a lot of stuff that Epstein alleged about him, he was a Trump hater. He was doing everything he possibly could to undermine the president. Obviously, we know he was helping Democrats, giving to Democrats. And so Donald Trump saw the writing on the wall and said, this is ridiculous. I would say, if you could be critical of President Trump on this, it is that he may have been unaware or underestimated the interest in the files from the base of the MAGA party. And so that would be the criticism. Obviously, he has changed and done a 180 on this, realizing that, no, actually, this will help us. But still, you can tell there is concern from the president that this is just going to bog down the media and take attention away from the work that he is doing as president. So we understand the concern there. But the bill has been filed 30 days now for the DOJ to comply and produce these files. Now, we've talked about on this show the label of Brooklyn Barack, which is what Hakeem Jeffries was referred to in a solicitation email for donations from Jeffrey Epstein. Hakeem Jeffries refuses to admit that his team sought money from the Epstein fortune. Here's Representative James Comer spelling out the email, even citing that Hakeem Jeffries is now calling James Comer a liar. But here's the email from Lisa Rossi with the subject line, "Rising Star," sent to Jeffrey Epstein. This was in 2013, announcing they were working with him, one of the rising stars in the New York congressional delegation, sometimes referred to as Brooklyn's Barack, a staunch supporter of Obama and blah, 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 blah. We are encouraging his friends to participate in this fundraising dinner with Obama this coming Monday night. If you'd like to get involved with the dinner, let us know, basically, and get to know Hakeem better. Okay, interesting. But Hakeem says, he's a liar. Here's James Comer on the floor talking about this very issue related to Hakeem Jeffries.
So let's read it to make sure. To Jeffrey Epstein, and that's the real Jeffrey Epstein, not Jasmine Crockett's Jeffrey Epstein. This is the real Jeffrey Epstein. From Hakeem Jeffries' campaign. Dear Jeffrey, we are thrilled that we are working with Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, one of the rising stars of the New York delegation, sometimes referred to as Brooklyn's Barack. Hakeem is committed to electing a Democrat majority in 2014 and is encouraging his friends to participate in a DCCC fundraising dinner with President Obama and Hakeem Jeffries. It ends with a number for Jeffrey Epstein to call to go to the dinner and, quote, get an opportunity to get to know Hakeem better. Here's the evidence. The email speaks for itself. The only stone cold liar in this debate is Hakeem Jeffries. So, Mr. Minority Leader, take a deep breath, chill out, stop lying, stop with the juvenile name calling, and own up to the fact that your campaign solicited campaign cash from Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay, so the record continues to be a problem for Democrats, and this is not faring well for Hakeem Jeffries, who was asked about Stacey Plaskett, the congresswoman from the U.S. Virgin Islands, who was texting back and forth with Jeffrey Epstein during a hearing while he coached her, mind you. And, he's saying, I haven't had a conversation with her, and then reveals I did have a private conversation with her. I mean, none of it is adding up. Okay. They've been exposed, and it makes you wonder, again, were Democrats so blinded by their hatred for Trump, they thought they could spin this in a way that would be negative for him and overlook the fact that they are mentioned all throughout these files. Now, we refer now to what Congressman Comer was referencing there as the real Jeffrey Epstein related to Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett alleged that Jeffrey Epstein donated to Lee Zeldin, our EPA director. What is he? I don't know. The director of maybe that's it. And anyway, back when he was running in 2020 for office, somebody named Jeffrey Epstein gave him money in 2020. When did Epstein allegedly commit suicide? That was back in 2019. He was dead, D-E-A-D. But she alleged that he gave Lee Zeldin money. Look at this.
Had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio. I just want to be clear. If this is the standard that we're going to make, just know we're going to expose it all. And just know that the FEC filings, they are available for everybody to review. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Okay, they're available for everybody to review. And if this is going to be the stand we're going to take, please, that's not how you talk. We've heard you talk. And this is only when you have to put on the code switch for everybody. Jeffrey Epstein was a doctor that had the same name, not the guy, but this is the crack team that she has doing research and what they've come up with. And it couldn't be further from the truth. And CNN asked Jasmine about it, and watch the spin.
I believe that Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay, that's the wrong clip. Hold on. That's Stacey Plaskett. We'll get the Jasmine. Here we go. Here's the Jasmine Crockett clip as she is speaking with Caitlin Collins on CNN regarding this major faux pas, this major error that just makes her look really dumb.
defense over Jeffrey Epstein is Stacey Plaskett. She
Yeah.
represents the Virgin Islands. She was texting with Jeffrey Epstein the day of Michael Cohen's hearing. Her questions pretty closely followed the text messages between the two of them to ask about Rona Graff, Trump's longtime assistant. You were defending her today, or in recent days, yesterday, and you talked about Republicans taking money from a Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what you said.
Who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio.
You mentioned Lee Zeldin there. He's now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor that doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the people that
Listen, I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein, just so that people understand when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen, because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled. And that is specifically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein, unlike
They Googled. I mean, wow. That is some effective investigative work. They Googled. I didn't say the Jeffrey Epstein. I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Well, did you look up all the people that received donations from a Adolf Hitler? Or Anne, probably is a more grammatically correct statement. I was talking about a Jeffrey Epstein, not the Jeffrey Epstein. Does anyone believe that this plays with any person of reasonable intelligence?
Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies, because it was not.
I at least don't go out and tell lies. Interestingly enough, you lied by omission with alleging that Lee Zeldin received donations from the Jeffrey Epstein, and then you go on TV and try to spin it. That's also a lie.
Same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to say was it was a different Jeffrey Epstein. He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein. So at least I wasn't trying to mislead people. Now, have I dug in to find out who this doctor is? I have not. So I will trust and take what he says is that it wasn't that Jeffrey Epstein, but I was not attempting to mislead anybody. I literally had maybe 20 minutes.
What is she talking about? At least I didn't mislead, because he did admit that there was a guy with that name that gave to him. I mean, this is like the scene. I don't know if you ever watched the Chappelle Show, where Rick James says, I didn't just go into the Eddie Murphy brothers' house and put my dirty cowboy boots on their couch. I didn't do that. And then literally 2 seconds later, he said, yeah, I did that. It's like, wait, what? What are you talking about?
Before I had to do that debate.
Yeah, but people might see that and say, well, you're trying to make it sound like he took money from
I did not know.
a registered sex offender.
No, but I literally did not know.
We know you didn't know. That's not a good defense. You rushed into this, made the allegation, it was wrong and false, and then instead of saying we got it wrong, you're doubling down and trying to make yourself look like the victim here and the victor over exposing Lee Zeldin and another guy named Jeffrey Epstein.
You search FEC files, and that's what I had my team to do. I texted them and I said, listen, we're going up. They are saying that she took donations.
Right, but someone might say, well, your team should have done the homework to make sure it wasn't the convicted sex trafficker.
Ding, 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 ding. Maybe before you go out in front of America in Congress on the floor and make allegations, maybe you do a little bit more work.
20 minutes, you could not find that out, not from just doing a quick search on FEC. So number one, I made sure that I was clear that it was a Jeffrey Epstein, but I never said that it was specifically that Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay. My gosh. I mean, if somebody drew this clip up for SNL, would you question it at all? I mean, it would be hilarious. It's like President Clinton's statement. It depends on what your hold on, let me get the voice. I tell you what, it depends on what your definition of is.
I knew that we would need more time to really dig in.
Well, Stacey Plaskett was texting the Jeffrey Epstein that we're all
Correct.
talking about. You voted against the censure for her to remove her from her committees. You know, we pressed the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, on this last night. Maybe you don't think she should be removed from her committees.
Correct.
But why do so many Democrats seem unwilling to say it's inappropriate to be texting with a registered sex offender about what you're going to ask a witness at a congressional hearing?
So I'm not going to necessarily say that that's the case. Now, this is somebody that was a former prosecutor. Now,
I'm not going to say that's the case, that it was inappropriate for a member of Congress to be coached during a hearing by a known pedophile. I'm not going to say that's wrong.
Sat down and talked about all the specifics of why Stacey was doing what she was doing. I know that when she got up and she spoke, she talked about the fact that this was one of her constituents. At the end of the day, what I know of prosecutors is that they are typically talking to co-defendants. They are typically talking to the people that have the best information. And what you had was you had the former attorney for the president that was sitting there. And honestly, we knew, or she knew, or at least Jeffrey Epstein presented that he was very cozy with the president. He had more information, registered sex offender or not. The bigger question is, why is it that the president was so cozy with a registered sex offender even after he ultimately ended up with some of his convictions? And seemingly he had absolutely been on the plane with him. We know about the birthday card.
Seemingly, he has absolutely been on the plane with him. Do we know that? I don't think we know that. And then the birthday card, which has been vehemently denied,
The question is,
which is totally ridiculous, but just throwing out allegations after allegation after allegation.
the president of the United States, not the one that is in the hot seat for his relationship, instead of us saying, oh, you know what, we're going to take her off of her committee because he decided to text her. Stacey didn't initiate that chain. Jeffrey initiated that chain, and she took the information. Just like if somebody texts me.
Yeah, but she was responding and saying, you know, what are you talking about? Quick, I'm up next. And then her questions were about Rona. But do you think that was inappropriate? I mean, would you text with someone who is a registered sex offender about what you should ask?
I honestly know that he had never been convicted of any federal crimes at that time.
But he had been in jail already.
He had been
got
in
a plea
jail.
deal.
And my deal is this.
I mean, look at this whataboutism. Look at this spin. As somebody posted in the chat here, Dave says we need waiters for this one, right? We need waiters because there's so much crap being peddled here. It's utterly insane.
Are constantly texting with a 34 count convicted felon. So if it's okay for them to text him at any point in time, then I'm not going to say that that's right or wrong, especially to the extent that you're talking about kicking someone off their committee. Were they sexting? Was it a matter of her being involved in the pedophilia? No, it was nothing like that. She was trying to understand. Let's say Jeffrey Epstein said, you know what? I have these pictures, these salacious pictures, because I know that the president got down and did these things. Do you think that it would be inappropriate for her to ask about those things if he said he had personal knowledge? I think
the context matters, but obviously it seemed like he was helping her. But I do want to ask.
Yeah, the context matters. Without a doubt, it matters. It matters a lot. It's kind of a big part of this in that you have a member of Congress going back and forth with this convicted sex offender. And Jasmine Crockett, surprisingly being questioned by Caitlin Collins about this, is spinning up a giant turd. I mean, what other way can you describe it? I mean, this sort of moral relativism, and this is, again, exposing so many of the Democrats as being just straight up hypocrites. Now, let's talk about Plaskett. She finally comments on this Jeffrey Epstein texting situation with CNN. Here we go.
I believe that Jeffrey Epstein had information, and I was going to get information to get at the truth. Having a friendship with him is not something that I would deem to have. And so I'm just looking forward. I'm moving forward. And I think that that's what we as American people should do, is move forward. If individuals are not involved in illegal activity, extending his criminal enterprise or his financial enterprise or all of those things. I think that we need to look at what people are doing moving forward.
Wait, let me just better understand that. What is that point? Because at the time he was a known sex offender and it had been detailed all the sexual abuse.
There are a lot of people who have done a lot of crimes. And as a prosecutor, you get information from people where you can.
Okay. That's what it's about. Okay. Gotcha. This is indefensible, all while they try to pretend that Donald Trump is somehow culpable in any of this. It is backfiring bigly. It's bigly backfiring. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. A lot of chat going on. Trying to keep up with this. Were they sexting? They were not, but it's hard to know for sure with the way that they weren't, but Jasmine Crockett trying to sort of imply that is really strange. I don't know what's going on with the software here. But nonetheless, Dirty Money says smash the like button. Yes, please do. Please do smash the like button. What is happening here? Okay, then let's see. There's plenty of people that here we go. Mostly Penny. They moved the goalpost from sex offender to regular felon. See what she did there? Yeah, exactly. And lots of just another Democrat liar, Adam says. Gaetano says, Martha, get my boots. The BS is getting thick. Goose says, I really don't like Caitlin Collins, but I now dislike Jasmine Crockett even more. Okay, so it's, yeah, and we got some Charlie Murphy, Dave Chappelle show references going on as well. Goose says cocaine is a heck of a drug. I mean, that's really the way it came across here, is like Rick James. And she basically said, no, I didn't do that. But I mean, yeah, I did that. Here's an inconvenient truth for Democrats as well. Newly released campaign finance records show that from 1990 to 2018, Jeffrey Epstein directed about 89% of his political donations to who? Democrats and progressive causes, with notable individual recipients, including Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and little Chucky Schumer. Yeah, that's right. So this is not what you think it is, Democrats. This is not a get Trump endeavor. It is not going to end well for Democrats, and it's just getting started. All right. And that's what we're doing, too. We are just getting started here on the show. We're going to come back with a congressman being charged with FEMA fraud. Hint, she's a Democrat. An autism fraud scheme involving FEMA. Crenshaw banned from international travel, and a whole lot more. Please help us out by hitting that like button, heart the post on X, and repost, and make sure you're following me on X at Ike Wingate. If you'd like to support our mission to bring you this information, of course, you can support us with a contribution using Cash App or Venmo, and those links are set up right now at IkeWingate.com or IkeReport.com. We are back after this. Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. Well, just hanging out on the farm here. You know, one thing I was thinking about this morning is, when's the next crisis going to hit? It's not really a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And we really can't rely on the government to take care of a shortage or something like that. We just got to take care of ourselves. You remember back in COVID, you tried to go to the store and everything was gone? Well, you can't risk that kind of thing. That's why I suggest My Patriot Supply. You can go to preparewithike.com and get your 4-week emergency food kit. Save $50 when you use my URL. Again, it is preparewithike.com. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And the question is, when it does happen, will your family eat? Make sure there's no question about it. Take action now. Save $50, 4-week emergency food kit. Preparewithike.com. Fourscore and 7 years ago, there used to be men in this country. Now this country's full of a bunch of weenie men. You think about all the stuff that's in the water, plastics, microplastics, there's estrogen everywhere. In fact, compared to 100 years ago, men have half the testosterone that they used to. Look, it's not like getting shot in the back of the head. All you need to do is take chalk once every day, and you can boost your testosterone for fun things that require your energy, like working out or playing sports or actually spending time with your kids. I wish I could do that, but I can't because I'm dead. But if I were alive, I would take chalk. The Patriots at Chalk combine the most powerful herbal extracts, so it's all natural, giving you that lift that you need. George, come spot me.
Well, Abe, if I too were alive, I'd gladly spot you.
It's time to boost your testosterone to levels not seen since 1776 or 1860 or 1864, whatever. But it's herbal. It's natural. It's made in the USA. It's been clinically studied to boost testosterone. We're talking about chalk. Okay? Stop being all weird with this trends and everything else. We didn't have that back in my day. We had real men. It's time to get boosted back to those levels when men were men and women were women and there wasn't anything in between. Right, Mary?
Yes, Lincoln.
That's right. Get chalk. IceWingate.com. Get chalk. If you want to be like me, get chalk. Except for the dead part. Okay. IceWingate.com.
Hey there! Tired of watching your subscription costs climb higher and higher? With Q Broadcast, you get more for less. All your favorite channels and content bundled into one unbeatable package. No contracts, no hidden fees, just simple, affordable streaming. Say goodbye to overpriced services and hello to a new era of entertainment. This is streaming the way it should be. Q Broadcast, this changes everything.
You can sign up for Q Streaming today at IkeWingate.com. Just click Get Q Streaming to start streaming tons of channels, video on demand, even pay-per-view, all for the same price. It's all included. This is a Christian conservative-owned company that does not hate your values. Stop giving money to the cabal of big tech. Support companies that support your values. Right now at IkeWingate.com, just click Get Q Streaming. Of course, we want to say thank you to those joining us on the Right Side Broadcast Network. If you are new to the show, of course, check me out on X at Ike Wingate and help us in the algorithm. Hit that thumbs up or heart the post on X. But whatever platform you're watching on, please repost and share. That would be greatly appreciated. All right. So the DOJ has charged Congresswoman Sheila Phyllis McCormick out of Florida with stealing $5 million in FEMA funds meant for disaster relief. If convicted, she faces 53 years in federal prison. And so what did she do? Allegedly, she stole FEMA money to fund her congressional campaign. That's the allegation in this indictment. A federal grand jury in Miami returned the indictment charging Sheila Phyllis McCormick and several co-defendants with stealing federal disaster funds. I mean, these were funds meant to help people that's lives were destroyed. Now, we also know through FEMA, they were discriminating against helping houses with American flags and Trump flags under the Biden administration. And then we have a Democrat Congresswoman laundering, or I should say, stealing and laundering this money, using the money to support her 2021 congressional campaign. According to the indictment, she, along with her brother, Edwin Sherfilis, worked through their family health care company on a FEMA-funded COVID-19 vaccination staffing contract. The company received an overpayment of $5 million in FEMA funds. The indictment alleges they conspired to steal that money, and prosecutors allege that a substantial portion was used for candidate contributions. Apparently, they arranged the funding using straw donors, funneling other monies from the FEMA-funded COVID-19 contract. So we know that she has been stripped of at least one committee assignment, and it's only a matter of time here where she will likely be expelled from Congress. Mike Johnson, of course, needs to do the right thing. I mean, they did that to George Santos for far less. And so once again, we see fraud using taxpayer money that was earmarked or set aside for something completely different. And it's no wonder they ran Elon Musk out of there when Doge was uncovering so much waste, fraud, and abuse. That's the bizarre thing. And so we see FEMA funds being stolen here. And we also see in Minnesota another example of fraud related to autism. Somalian immigrant communities in Minnesota were overdiagnosing their own kids with autism so that they can funnel billions of Medicaid dollars back to terrorist cells in Somalia. U.S. Attorney's Office press release made clear the alleged autism fraud scheme extended to a wide network of people intended to drive up enrollment. Hassan and her partners paid monthly cash kickback payments to the parents of children who enrolled. These kickback payments ranged from approximately $300 to $1,500 a month per child, contingent upon the services that DHS provided. The higher the authorization amount, the higher the kickback. Often parents threatened to leave and take their children to other autism centers if they did not get paid higher kickbacks. Autism claims to Medicaid in Minnesota have skyrocketed in recent years, from $3 million in 2018 to $54 million in 2019, $77 million in 2020, $183 million in 2021, $279 million in 2022, and $399 million in 2023. Meanwhile, the number of autism providers in the state spiked from 41 to 328 over the same period. Is it because there's more autism? Probably not. With many in the Somali community establishing their own autism treatment centers, citing the need for culturally appropriate programming. By the time the fraud scheme was exposed, 1 in 16 Somali 4-year-olds in the state had reportedly been diagnosed with autism, a rate more than triple the state average. So we have this Somali fraud ring in America stealing millions, if not billions, in taxpayer funds, then funneling it back over to Al-Shabaab, Islamist terrorists back home. The nuances and craziness of these various fraud schemes that go on inside of our country. There is so much money. There are so many programs that are rife with abuse and fraud potential. I read a story earlier regarding this agency that was set up, and they have no purpose whatsoever. It's an opt-in free service for something to do with the unions, I think. Anyway, the allegations in this, I didn't queue it up because of time, but I'll tell you about it real quick. The allegations were these staffers, many of which were working from home before the COVID pandemic, were living lavish lifestyles and expensing it back to the program because it was totally unchecked. So we're talking cars, condos, vacations, jewelry, paintings, just an incredible amount of fraud. And we keep finding out about these things. We haven't even, I don't think, scratched the surface on this stuff with how broad and deep it actually is. Now let's talk about U.S. Representative Dan Crenshaw, the guy with the eye patch. He has been banned from international trips after a drunken episode on an official trip to Mexico. Poor guy. He's been banned from international travel. Mostly Penny in the chat says, how does one go about banning a pirate from international travel? Good question. Good question. You may recall that he was caught on an open mic threatening to kill Tucker Carlson earlier in the year. Take a look as a reminder for you.
Have you ever met Tucker?
We've talked a lot.
If I ever meet him, I'll effing kill him. He's the worst. Yeah, seems like a stable guy, right? Yeah. Apparently he has a problem with the bottle, went down to Mexico, maybe had a little too much tequila, maybe even ate the worm. Who knows? But it's no question that Republican Congressman Dan Crenshaw has been banned. This guy started out as a real freedom fighter, and the longer he's been in Congress, the more trades he's been involved in, and the more rhino establishment crazy person he's become. And, you know, you can call me whatever you want in the chat over on YouTube because there's plenty of trolls in there. But we call out both sides no matter what to keep people honest and with integrity. All right. So that being said, speaking of rhinos, we look at the scene from Vice President Dick Cheney's funeral. Apparently, the allegation is that President Trump and J.D. Vance were not invited. They were not there, whether they weren't invited or chose not to. But the rest of the uniparty was there. All right, there you see George W. Bush, you see Joe Biden, you see Al Gore, you see Kamala Harris, Mike Pence, and it's no wonder. People have been actually happy online to see that President Trump wasn't there. Basically, I don't want to speak ill of the dead. On one hand, I say, okay, Dick Cheney, you served your country. But not everything you may have done some good things, but you did a lot of damage. And, oh, by the way, you turned your back on your party as one of your last acts living, endorsed Kamala Harris and said that President Trump or candidate Trump at the time was one of the worst threats to America. So I'm not really shedding any tears when it comes to Dick Cheney. But nonetheless, we see the scene there. Not only those people, but, oh, look, there's Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci in the crowd at the funeral right here. And he's sitting right next to Rachel Maddow. How about that? Rachel Maddow in the crowd. Interesting. These are the people that Dick Cheney was chummy with. Of course, James Carville there as well. That's no surprise. So, it's all about the company you keep, my friends. I think there's something to that. Let's look at a couple of your comments here. I saw one. Bree says Crenshaw is awful. I had high hopes for him in the beginning. Yeah, what happens to these people? They go to Washington and they change dramatically. Got a $5 contribution on the board from Gaetano via Cash App. Thank you, Gaetano. Appreciate your contribution to help us get the word out. If you'd like to support what we're doing, you can do so via Cash App or Venmo, just like Gaetano. At IkeReport.com, we have the unique links set up there. Of course, you also want to give us a thumbs up and a heart, depending on what platform you're watching on, and repost and share. That will help us tremendously. And make sure you're following me at Ike Wingate on X. It's there on the bottom of your screen. Okay. I mean, there's so many comments coming in here that it is hard to weed through. We're streaming on a lot of platforms. And exactly. So we talk about the shutdown. Let's talk about the shutdown briefly here. I'm trying to stay on time. We are going to be joined by attorney Seth Woodall coming up regarding the Democrats urging the military to defy their orders. They haven't said specifically what those orders are. President Trump has alleged sedition there, punishable by execution. And so we are going to talk to him about that one coming up. But now let's talk about this shutdown briefly. Yeah, we'll talk about the shutdown here from J.D. Vance, revealing that Trump offered to work on fixing Obamacare with Democrat leaders Schumer and Jeffries before the shutdown. Apparently, they were caught off guard by that answer, and their demand to prevent the shutdown was to fix the whole system in just 3 days. Here's Vice President J.D. Vance at this Breitbart event talking about it.
We got to the serious stuff, and they said, we really want to address the healthcare problem confronting the American people. The president said, well, absolutely. We agree. We want to address the healthcare problem confronting the American people. In fact, you people screwed it up with Obamacare, the Unaffordable Care Act, and now you're coming to us saying, let's fix it. Great. Let's fix it. And then they said, I think they were kind of caught off guard, and they're like, well, but we want the fix before we're willing to open up the government. And the president was like, that's like 3 days from now. You want us to fix American healthcare in the next 3 days, and unless you do it, you're going to shut down the government. How about we open up the government and then work together to fix American healthcare? And of course, we know the history. They rejected it. They shut down the government. But I don't want to get ahead of the president, Matt, because we had a very, very good meeting in the Oval Office yesterday. I think that we have a great healthcare plan coming together. I think that it's going to get Republican and Democrat support.
That's interesting. A great healthcare plan that is coming together. It'll be interesting to see what that is. But before we really talk about that, let's key in on what the vice president said, and that is the Democrats basically lobbed this grenade at the president 3 days before the shutdown, trying to hold the government and the American people hostage by wanting President Trump to pull a rabbit out of his hat and fix the healthcare system in 3 days. Impossible. And so it never really was about what they said it was about, which, by the way, the Obamacare subsidies expiring at the end of this year, you know who set that date? Democrats. Democrats are the one who voted for an expiration of these subsidies at the end of 2025 when they signed the Obamacare legislation, the Affordable Care Act. Not one Republican voted for it. So they created this problem. Then they tried to make it Trump's problem and the Republicans' problem, but that backfired on them in a major way. And we now see through the inner workings of those conversations prior to the shutdown that Schumer and Jeffries were never really serious. Impossible to fix the healthcare system in 3 days. Don't you think they should have been working on that like 45 days prior to the expiration of funding if they really wanted to do it? No, they just go in there and drop that bomb right then. So it never really was about the subsidies. It never really was about fixing healthcare. It was only about trying to get Trump. And you could argue some of it was effective when it relates to the elections in Virginia, possibly. I mean, Democrats were supposed to win in Virginia and New Jersey. You could argue the margins were higher than expected. And I would say, yeah, I think that's true. Higher than I thought. But not a surprise that these people won. The big surprise was how many people voted for Jay Jones, a guy who threatened to kill somebody and his kids, and Democrats in Virginia still voted for him. That's insane. That is insane. But otherwise, the shutdown backfired, and you had these Democrat senators that came in and fixed it. Oh, wait a minute. What? So you could have fixed it this entire time? I mean, Tim Kaine, senator from Virginia, said, I didn't realize, how dug in they were on this or that, and we had to get the government back open. Yeah. You think so? So it basically solidified and sealed that Democrats owned the shutdown. And what did they do after a day and a half of negative press? They said, we got to release the Epstein Files, right? And then we've been talking about that ever since. So have we been talking about the shutdown? No, it's like the shutdown happened, 10 years ago. So you see what they're doing. They're playing with your emotions, Democrats. That's what they're doing. Of course, Vice President Vance, they're saying that they've come up with some kind of plan. You like your doctor? Get your keeper plan. You get to keep the plan. Yep. You like your doctor? You keep your plan. That's what Obama said. We'll see what this plan is. But nonetheless, it is no surprise that it is Obamacare has caused premiums to go way up. It's been a disaster. It was predicted to be a disaster. And of course, President Trump has to ride in on his big, beautiful white horse and save the day. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to save it. It's going to be so good. It's going to be better than it's ever been. And Democrats will find some way to say that, Trump ruined healthcare. Let's call it Trump care. That'll drive Democrats crazy. Huh? I'd say so. All right. So we will wait and see what happens with this new healthcare plan. That'll be very interesting to see once that finally comes out. All right. We're going to talk about these Democrats who made this video urging the military to defy their orders. President Trump has responded. It's created a lot of question around sedition and the like, and we are going to talk to attorney Seth Woodall about that when we come back. Okay? The other thing I need to ask you to do is to smash that thumbs up button, to heart the post and on X, and of course, follow me on X at Ike Wingate, and also share the live, repost. Those kind of things help us in the algorithm. If you'd like to support our mission and just cover our cost to bring you this content, and I've never taken a dime, by the way, you can do so via Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com. $5, $10, $20, IkeReport.com. And we are back right after this. Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. Well, just hanging out on the farm here. One thing I was thinking about this morning is, when's the next crisis going to hit? It's not really a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And we really can't rely on the government to take care of a shortage or something like that. We just got to take care of ourselves. You remember back in COVID, you tried to go to the store and everything was gone? Well, you can't risk that kind of thing. That's why I suggest My Patriot Supply. You can go to preparewithike.com and get your 4-week emergency food kit. Save $50 when you use my URL. Again, it is preparewithike.com. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And the question is, when it does happen, will your family eat? Make sure there's no question about it. Take action now. Save $50, 4-week emergency food kit, preparewithike.com. 407 years ago, there used to be men in this country. Now this country's full of a bunch of weenie men. You think about all the stuff that's in the water, plastics, microplastics, there's estrogen everywhere. In fact, compared to 100 years ago, men have half the testosterone that they used to. Look, it's not like getting shot in the back of the head. All you need to do is take chalk once every day, and you can boost your testosterone for fun things that require your energy, like working out or playing sports or actually spending time with your kids. I wish I could do that, but I can't because I'm dead. But if I were alive, I would take chalk. The Patriots said chalk combine the most powerful herbal extracts, so it's all natural, giving you that lift that you need. George, come spot me.
Well, Abe, if I too were alive, I'd gladly spot you.
It's time to boost your testosterone to levels not seen since 1776 or 1860 or 1864, whatever. But it's herbal. It's natural. It's made in the USA. It's been clinically studied to boost testosterone. We're talking about chalk. Okay? Stop being all weird with this trends and everything else. We didn't have that back in my day. We had real men. It's time to get boosted back to those levels when men were men and women were women and there wasn't anything in between. Right, Mary?
Yes, Lincoln.
That's right. Get chalk. IceWingate.com. Get chalk. If you want to be like me, get chalk. Except for the dead part. Okay. IceWingate.com.
Hey there! Tired of watching your subscription costs climb higher and higher? With Q Broadcast, you get more for less. All your favorite channels and content bundled into one unbeatable package. No contracts, no hidden fees, just simple, affordable streaming. Say goodbye to overpriced services and hello to a new era of entertainment. This is streaming the way it should be. Q Broadcast, this changes everything.
You can sign up for Q Streaming today at IkeWingate.com. Just click Get Q Streaming to start streaming tons of channels, video on demand, even pay-per-view, all for the same price. It's all included. This is a Christian conservative-owned company that does not hate your values. Stop giving money to the cabal of big tech. Support companies that support your values. Right now at IkeWingate.com, just click Get Q Streaming. All right, welcome back in. This is the Ike Wingate Show. I am glad you are with us today. Of course, we want to say hello to our friends now carrying the show on Right Side Broadcasting. Right Side Broadcasting. It is great to have you all with us. We will be bringing you the show on Right Side as scheduling allows. And so great to have you with us. Make sure you're following me on X at Ike Wingate. Or you can also check out my channel on Rumble. It is the Ike Wingate Show. I see mostly Penny in the chat said, just have Trump say that everyone deserves health care and the Democrats will fight to make sure that nobody has health care. Yeah, so whatever Trump says, they'll just do the opposite of. I mean, it's worked time and time again. As we've talked about, these Epstein Files were a prime example of that, right? All right, so we're going to be joined here momentarily by Seth Woodall from Woodall and Associates. The issue that we're talking about here relates to these elected Democrats creating this video encouraging members of the military to commit treason and defy orders from Trump and Hegseth, our Secretary of War. They don't specifically say which orders. But here's the video that's causing so much controversy. Take a look.
Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now. Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military.
Okay, we've got the spinny circle all of a sudden. Right on Mark Kelly. But let me see if I can get the rest of this clip. This is what happens randomly, right?
American citizens like us, you all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad, but from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
the Army,
our Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical.
And know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
the American people need you. We need you to stand up for our laws,
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Unreal, right? We have gone past the point of no return when you have elected officials urging our servicemen and women to defy orders from the president. Of course, the president does not like this. He says this is really bad and dangerous to our country. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. Seditious behavior from traitors. Lock them up, question mark, question mark, question mark. Calling it seditious behavior at the highest levels. Each one of these traitors to our country should be arrested and put on trial. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. We don't have a country anymore. An example must be set. I guess we didn't mark it, but there's another post from President Trump saying this is punishable by execution. Okay, and then we have a couple other people chiming in. Of course, Hakeem Jeffries saying that Donald Trump should keep his reckless mouth shut. Talking about January 6th, of course, right? I mean, think about what they charged the J6ers with. Did they encourage people to defy the orders of the president of the United States? Andy McCarthy is chiming in saying there's no insurrection or sedition without the use of force. Disobeying a lawful order is insubordination, not insurrection or sedition. Disobeying an unlawful order is required. So basically saying they're supposed to disobey unlawful orders, and without the use of force, this isn't insurrection or sedition. It is rather insubordination. Okay, well, let's ask somebody who knows about this. We're talking to attorney Seth Woodall from Seth Woodall and Associates. Thanks for joining us again today, sir. We appreciate you being here.
Nice to be here, Ike. Hope you're doing well.
Thank you, sir. I am. And it is interesting to see where we are at today, where we have elected Democrats calling for our military to defy the orders of the commander-in-chief. What do you make of these comments? What's your initial reaction to seeing that video?
You know, it's unfortunate, but I can't say that I'm surprised given the nature of how the Democrats and liberals have acted over the last couple of years. It's sad. It's sad to see that our elected officials who should be leaders are basically inciting rebellious behavior within the military. So I think it's sad. I think President Trump is right. This is going to be catastrophic if we start having individuals at the military level within the military start rebelling against orders of the president. Now, the president is the commander-in-chief. He commands all of the military in the United States. And these Democratic leaders should not be trying to incite rebellion within the military because it's going to be catastrophic.
Yeah, to your point, where does it go from here? Because you have elected officials calling for disobeying the orders of the president. Then what's next? I mean, if this is allowed to go unchecked, what could you see happening from here as a next domino, or down the line if this behavior doesn't achieve or doesn't receive some level of accountability?
Well, this is a slippery slope that we do not need to go down as a nation. So when you start having military personnel rebel against orders of the United States president, it's just going to be one domino after the other. So we're seeing already here that citizens in North Carolina, we have immigration had landed here and ICE agents in North Carolina here this past weekend, and they're making arrests, and their attempts are to try to arrest illegal immigrants who are dangerous to our community. And so we see citizens already trying to put up rebellion against the immigration. And I think very easily we could see Democratic leaders start saying, hey, do not cooperate with ICE, interfere with ICE. So I think, that's just one example. When you ask, what could I see? I think that's one example. But it's untold. If it goes unchecked and there's no accountability, then I think it's a very dangerous place that we'll find ourselves as a nation. But you showed just a few minutes ago, Donald Trump has sent out a couple of tweets. He's obviously very angry about what is happening. And I think that he, through the Department of Justice, will do everything in his power within the lawful orders of the Department of Justice to try to hold individuals accountable that try to incite rebellion or this behavior within the United States of America. And I think that's what we need we need leaders to be held accountable. They need to listen to the commander in chief. They need to accept their orders and do what's best for this nation.
Indeed, we list there, or you list there, the impeding and obstruction of ICE through these immigration enforcement activities. And of course, the only reason we're having to see ICE in our cities is because of the mass illegal immigration that was allowed and orchestrated, I would argue, under the Biden administration to happen. When things get out of control, it seems the only logical response has to be a swift response and a severe response. Otherwise, you're not able to deter future bad actors. And I think that's what you're saying when it comes to, calling for people to disobey and defy in the military the president's orders. Do I have that correct? Am I seeing that, appropriately?
That's exactly what I'm saying. So I think we do need a swift response from the president. I think he's probably working on that as we speak. But we cannot have any defiance of his orders to the military, because that creates a public safety concern. That is, their primary objective is to keep our United States safe and to protect our citizens. And as soon as you get rebellion within the military, the catastrophic effects could be insurmountable.
It seems like a real deflection of responsibility from these elected Democrats. So rather than fighting against President Trump's policies in the public square and through, debate and presenting their argument from a law standpoint and how we ought to address this, it's as if they are trying to entrap or make our military members, or put the responsibility on them to defy orders, rather than themselves as lawmakers, the ones who are, if they want to see something different happen, they're the ones that should be taking that into their own hands, right? Rather than putting it on these service members who a lot of times they're young families. They don't make a lot of money, but they're asking them to destroy their career and any possibility for a future, rather than take the responsibility. Does this surprise you at all when it comes to where we've come to in America?
No, I mean, we've seen the Democrats over the last couple of years. They'll do anything, and they have tried to fight Trump at the judicial level. We've seen over the last several months, there's been temporary restraining order after temporary restraining order entered in federal district courts, just trying to stop him from implementing his policy. Overall, most of those have been shot down by the higher courts. So the Democrats see that legally he is succeeding in most of his policy efforts. So they got to move to other less traditional methods of trying to stop him. And unfortunately, they're not having any luck at the judicial level. As far as public opinion, I think, the people spoke last November when they elected Donald Trump. I think the average person, the majority of the individuals in this country believe that his policies are going to make us safer. It's going to make our economy better. And that's why he was elected. It's just common sense. This should not be that difficult. But what we're seeing is that the Democrats are simply willing to go at any length necessary to try to stop him. And it has really is sad. They're not at all attempting to try to work collectively with the Republicans at the national level to try to implement policies, or like you said, just have a public debate because they know that they're going to lose. And so when you know that you have nothing left, you just throw Hail Marys, and that's exactly what this is.
Yeah, another Hail Mary from deranged Democrats. Well, what do you make of this sedition allegation? We talked about Andy McCarthy saying, you got to have the use of force, etc. The president has said this looks like sedition. What do you think as an attorney when you hear that?
Well, if you take sedition at what it is, the definition would indicate, some form of rebellion or inciting some riotous acts within the United States government. So it certainly does appear that there is some inciting of rebellion being called for by these Democratic leaders. So I think very well that there could be a leap to sedition or tie to sedition. And Trump himself has said, hey, look, you can be punished severely for this. And so I think they need to tread lightly, but unfortunately, I just don't know that they have the mental capacity to understand the significance of what they're really doing.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I know you have to go here in a moment. Can I ask you quickly before you go about these drug boats and the whole situation with, the cartels and the Venezuelan gangs bringing fentanyl, the number one killer in a lot of ways of Americans. Some people say, well, what about due process for these drug runners? Well, the other side of it is, well, if you look at terrorism and these cartels have been designated as, international terrorist organizations, which gives the president latitude to do multiple things. And the fact that people are dying, you could argue we are in some sense at war with a terrorist organization, which would justify some of this. But we continue to hear the rhetoric amp up on this. What do you make of the president's ability to carry out these strikes and this call from Democrats for so-called due process?
Well, there's a couple of things there. These cartels who have been identified as terrorist organizations, like you just said, they have no due process rights under our Constitution. And they are transporting one of the most dangerous substances known to man, fentanyl, into the United States of America. If you look at the fentanyl deaths over the last 10 years, they have increased year after year. I know people personally who have died of fentanyl here. So President Trump has made it a mission to stop the fentanyl. We know that it's coming from China. It's going into South America, and it's being transported here to the United States. And, it's unfortunate that these cartels are willing to put their lives on the line to bring it here. But that just tells you how heinous they are and how much money truly means to them. But I have no problem with the Venezuelan boats being blown up. And that may not be maybe I shouldn't say that, but I have no issue with it because what it's doing is protecting my children, it's protecting your children, and it's protecting the children of the Democrats and the liberals who are pushing back so hard against this.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, again, to me, when you side with the drug runners, it's the same as siding with the rapists and murderers who are here illegally rather than the victims. It's as if the Democrats are trying to create an oppressed class out of the criminals. And it just makes no sense whatsoever when it comes to right and wrong, good and bad, and what's right for our country. So that makes complete sense, what you're saying. And I think a lot of people agree with that. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Are we just going to keep allowing the funneling of fentanyl into this country to kill our children? It's just not the right thing to do. So thank you, Seth Woodall. Always insightful when you provide your expertise to these matters that are being thrown around. And a lot of people comment on these issues that have no legal understanding, which is what we see a lot with Democrats. And so it's always great to get a voice of reason here today. Seth Woodall from Seth Woodall and Associates from the great state of North Carolina. Thanks for being here, sir.
Thanks, Ike.
All right. Have a good day. All right. And the oppression that they see out of these criminals and these illegal immigrants, these rapists, these murderers is unfathomable. But, you know, we know in the Bible it says, woe to those who call good evil and evil good. And that's what we're seeing here. I mean, what other way can we kind of look at it? Because it's obvious to anybody with eyes and ears what's really going on. And when you side with the perpetrators, you're on the wrong side. There's no question about it. We do have, I believe, some comment on this video from a clip from Fox News where Martha McCallum was calling out this representative, Jason Crow, a Democrat from Colorado, trying to get him to tell her, hey, what did you mean with this video calling for defying orders? What specific orders are you talking about? This is how it went.
You're not talking about actual policy. You're not talking about things that are members of our service members who we revere and respect are actually being asked to do. So when you see this video on all over the place, when you see this video on social media, I think a lot of people scratch their heads and they say, what exactly are they talking about? Are they talking about
Martha,
not allowing gunboats to make it to the United States carrying drugs?
No.
Is that what you're talking about?
Martha, here's a novel idea. How about we actually prevent things from happening before they become a problem?
I think that's what they're trying to do.
What you're saying is we have to wait until there's a problem to respond to that problem.
No, I'm not.
Right? As a military officer, what I think is important is we train people, we give them information, we prepare people for challenges coming down the pike. That is what I did as a commander in the military. That's what I'm doing now, as we are standing by our troops. We are reminding them of their obligation.
Order from the commander-in-chief that we are asking our military to carry out, are you objecting to? This is very, very vague. And it was so vague in this video. I don't think people could figure out what you guys were all talking about on it.
Notice how he won't answer it. He knows they were in the wrong by doing this, and he's just skirting around like, oh, who, me? Oh, wait, this, what? Huh? Trying to play coy.
Martha, Donald Trump has made a series of very disturbing comments and suggestions that would violate U.S. law and put our military in terrible positions.
Again, we're getting nowhere because you're not talking about an order.
I don't want to wait until that happens to remind our troops of their obligation, because then it'll be too late. We are standing by our troops and our amazing men and women in uniform to remind them
who sign up every day as you did to carry out the orders of the commander-in-chief. We are not engaged in new wars. We have no troops on the ground in Ukraine except some who were training pilot missions, not on any front lines of any kind. In the Caribbean right now, we've sent a carrier there. I thought these were the specific operations that are actually happening that you might be referring to. But we've created a huge presence.
So what was he talking about? He won't say. I liked Martha McCallum getting a little feisty there with him because obviously he was, basically placing words in her mouth on a lot of this. And Mike Johnson has weighed in on this as well. And let's get that clip going here because we need to know what he has to say.
How you doing? The president posted that Democrats who urge service members to not follow illegal orders should be punished. It should be seditious, conspiracy, and punishable by death. Give me a response to that.
Look, I know the DOJ and the Pentagon are looking into the legality of all that, but what I can address is what everybody knows. That was wildly inappropriate. It is very dangerous. You have leading members of Congress telling troops to disobey orders. I think that's unprecedented in American history. And as the father of a young man who is, at the Naval Academy, going to be joining the service, I know young soldiers, airmen, sailors, they don't need that kind of nonsense from people in Congress. It is very dangerous. At a very dangerous time. I'm going to let others define what it is, but it's wildly inappropriate.
Wildly inappropriate, letting others define what it is. Again, siding with terrorists and basically placing the onus on our military as if it's their responsibility. I mean, wildly reckless and I would say a dereliction of duty on their own part. Why are you trying to pass the buck to our service men and women and stoke literally an insurrection is what that would be, which is absolutely absurd for anyone to take that position. If you don't like it, fine, but go through the proper channels to do something about it. It's wildly irresponsible, inappropriate, and un-American. I don't think there's any way else to frame it. It's grossly un-American, traitorous, treasonous. I don't know what other way you can describe it. All right, give us a thumbs up if you're watching on Rumble or Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube or maybe Instagram. And if you're watching on X, heart the post and repost. Of course, we want to say hello to our friends watching from Right Side Broadcast Network. You can follow me on X at Ike Wingate or on my Rumble channel, rumble.com/The Ike Wingate Show. Of course, if you want to support what we're doing, you can also do so via Cash App or Venmo with a contribution, $5, $10, $20 to help us cover our costs. You could do so right now via Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com. IkeReport.com. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we are going to come back with the jobs numbers, court rulings on the president not being allowed to pressure wash a building. This is literally something someone challenged in court. A federal building on the grounds of the White House, the Eisenhower building. Talk about that. But a big win in the inverse for the president when it comes to immigration enforcement. And was an FBI agent fired for being gay? That's the allegation. We'll talk about that. And Rosie O'Donnell is making some wildly inappropriate statements regarding the president, things that have been proven or have never been proven, I should say, as well. And he has sued for in the past and won. Is Rosie O'Donnell headed for a lawsuit from the president? We'll talk about that and more coming up after the break. You're watching the Ike Wingate Show.
Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. Well, just hanging out on the farm here. You know, one thing I was thinking about this morning is when's the next crisis going to hit? It's not really a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And we really can't rely on the government to take care of a shortage or something like that. We just got to take care of ourselves. You remember back in COVID, you tried to go to the store and everything was gone? Well, you can't risk that kind of thing. That's why I suggest My Patriot Supply. You can go to preparewithike.com and get your 4-week emergency food kit. Save $50 when you use my URL. Again, it is preparewithike.com. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And the question is, when it does happen, will your family eat? Make sure there's no question about it. Take action now. Save $50, 4-week emergency food kit, preparewithike.com. Fourscore and 7 years ago, there used to be men in this country. Now this country's full of a bunch of weenie men. You think about all the stuff that's in the water, plastics, microplastics, there's estrogen everywhere. In fact, compared to 100 years ago, men have half the testosterone that they used to. Look, it's not like getting shot in the back of the head. All you need to do is take chalk once every day, and you can boost your testosterone for fun things that require your energy, like working out or playing sports or actually spending time with your kids. I wish I could do that, but I can't because I'm dead. But if I were alive, I would take chalk. The Patriots at Chalk combine the most powerful herbal extracts, so it's all natural, giving you that lift that you need. George, come spot me.
Well, Abe, if I too were alive, I'd gladly spot you.
It's time to boost your testosterone to levels not seen since 1776 or 1860 or 1864, whatever. But it's herbal. It's natural. It's made in the USA. It's been clinically studied to boost testosterone. We're talking about shock. Okay? Stop being all weird with this trends and everything else. We didn't have that back in my day. We had real men. It's time to get boosted back to those levels when men were men and women were women and there wasn't anything in between. Right, Mary?
Yes, Lincoln.
That's right. Get chalk. IceWingate.com. Get chalk. If you want to be like me, get chalk. Except for the dead part. Okay. IceWingate.com.
Hey there! Tired of watching your subscription costs climb higher and higher? With Q Broadcast, you get more for less. All your favorite channels and content bundled into one unbeatable package. No contracts, no hidden fees, just simple, affordable streaming. Say goodbye to overpriced services and hello to a new era of entertainment. This is streaming the way it should be. Q Broadcast, this changes everything.
You can sign up for Q Streaming today at IkeWingate.com. Just click Get Q Streaming to start streaming tons of channels, video on demand, even pay-per-view, all for the same price. It's all included. This is a Christian conservative-owned company that does not hate your values. Stop giving money to the cabal of big tech. Support companies that support your values. Right now at IkeWingate.com, just click Get Q Streaming. And we're back on the Ike Wingate Show. Thank you for being here again. Give us a thumbs up on whatever platform you're watching on and share this live. We would appreciate you sharing the live. And, of course, follow me on X at Ike Wingate. And if you'd like to support the show, you can do so via Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com. All right, some of your comments. Gaetano says the reason why the Democrat congressman there with Martha McCallum, Jason Crow, doesn't have an answer is because they have no policy solutions. All they do is bash Republicans and Trump and try to twist the truth. That's exactly why the Whigs, the Whig Party, died out. All right. Thank you to Jay for reposting on X. And we have a comment here regarding Trump talking about this as being sedition. If I can find it. There's some kind of troll argument going on inside the YouTube chat right now. So I'm just trying to weed through all of those things. Here we go. Let's see. Nope, that's not it. Yeah, lots of stuff going on in the chat. A lot of shows won't share the chat because it goes so crazy and there's a lot of them. But I like to grab some of these comments and just get at what you guys are saying because you all make this show better and fill in a lot of color, if you will, throughout the show. All right, so I'm not able to get to this comment from David Sling on to be able to display it on your screen, but what it says, actually, here it is. What I liked about Trump saying this is he put a marker on it right away. If they keep this crap up, they are on notice, just like Seth was saying there. Yeah. Exactly. You come out swiftly, quickly, with strength, and you label it what it is, and then, position it in the conversation from here on out if people are going to continue to peddle these kind of ridiculous ideas. Right? All right, let's get into the jobs numbers We'll get into the jobs numbers. Experts are shocked as the United States adds a stunning 119,000 jobs, despite only 50,000 being expected. Guess what? The federal jobs are down 3,000. Take a look.
And here we go. This is the September jobs report. Non-farm payrolls are up a robust 119,000. 119,000 would be the best since April when we were up 158,000. In the rearview mirror, well, last month was downgraded from 22,000 to minus 4,000. Now, if we look at what's going on with the unemployment rate, it ticked up from 4.3 to 4.4. That was unexpected. 4.4 would, last time we were at that level, boy, I have to go back a ways. October of 2021, when it was 4.5%. Now, if we look at labor force participation rate, it ticked up. That's a good thing. 62.4 equals where we were in May. You have to go to April of this year when it was 62.6 to find a higher number. In terms of the earnings, average hourly earnings month over month, up 0.2. That's a bit on the weak side. We're expecting up 0.3, up 0.2 equal.
All right. So numbers exceeding what we thought. Non-farm payrolls up a robust 119,000. That's the best since April. Federal government jobs being down 3,000. This is a good thing. What we are doing right now is basically detoxing from this harmful system that has been for so long, that we talk about the economy and we talk about jobs and growth and all that stuff. Well, how much is actually on the backs of taxpayers? We don't need more federal government jobs. Okay? That's not what we need. So obviously we had lots of cuts, waste, fraud, and abuse. That needs to get out of here. That could certainly affect numbers. And you might look at it and go, oh, the economy is doing terrible because we're losing jobs. Well, even then, we're still gaining jobs. However, this was to be expected, that there would be job loss because of the federal jobs. This is not a capitalist economy if so much of our future, so much of our livelihood and success is reliant on federal jobs, which comes from the taxpayers, right? And so this is the right way to go about it, but it is a bit of a detox. You knew that was going to happen a little bit with the tariffs as well. From my standpoint, I expected a lot more pain to occur. And so far, while prices haven't come down on things that we want to come down yet, we haven't experienced this sort of winter period of things being, in a really declining spot. Now, take all that into account. When you look at all the deals that President Trump has made to create jobs and to create investment into the United States, those things haven't even hit our economy yet. I mean, this is going to be a ripple effect. It is like turning a giant ship around. It takes time. But I would tell you that as the Trump administration goes on in length this time around, the economy is just going to get better and better and better and better because of so many of the policies that the groundwork was laid in the last 10 months are going to come to fruition. I mean, in fact, what you're going to see is after President Trump's term, a continued residual effect from all of these deals. I mean, President Trump won't actually be in office to receive all the credit that's due to him for these policy decisions and these deals that he has made in these last few months. When you talk about the reinvestment into our economy, the manufacturing moving here, when you talk about balancing the trade deficits, and oh, by the way, you add in the tax relief and the tax cuts that hit next year. I mean, you have a recipe for an incredibly robust, thriving economy And that doesn't even take into account the housing market that once some checks are put into place and all these illegal immigrants are deported, you open up a ton of housing opportunity. There's also talk about creating ways to allow for affordable housing, not at taxpayer expense, but maybe allowing some carve outs and incentives for those that are developing these affordable houses. And add all that together and you get a rate cut in there too that goes down to make it, a really nice mortgage rate at some point, and you are going to see an explosion. So we're sort of in a little bit of that adolescent period, I would argue, of this second term of the Trump administration related to the economy, just because we know that great changes are coming. We're just sort of in that awkward phase that they've been set up and they're going to happen. We're just we just have to allow the time for them to set in and for those things to occur. And so be patient. I will say, though, the fact that we're still seeing these positive numbers come out says, oh my gosh, I mean, we're still not seeing the bottom drop out on this. And that's really what I would expect to happen until these policies and these projects hit. Now, I will say when we look at, the shutdown, the Democrat Chuck Schumer shutdown, you certainly are going to see an effect on the economy because a lot of people weren't getting paid. Now, if they get back pay and they, flood the economy in November with those back pay wages with stuff, I mean, you might see a terrible month for, say, October, but November might be record breaking. I don't know. And so we'll wait and see on that. But one thing is for sure, this is America. And what we don't need to be doing is creating this burden on so many of our government services, so many of our housing opportunities, so much of our highways and traffic, so much of our medical infrastructure, so much of all of the above, as we're paying for people to be here that are here illegally. And we certainly don't need to be adding new jobs for illegal immigrants. Shouldn't we take care of Americans first, even if they're someone who is born in another country that comes here? I would prefer that an American gets a job first so long as they're qualified, because that's where we need to put our emphasis. And so far, the numbers bear that out. During the Trump administration, native-born workers have risen over 2 million under Trump to a new record high, as foreign-born jobs plunge by 1.6 million. Today's jobs report, including forecast busting payrolls offset by the highest unemployment rate in 4 years at 4.4%, driven by another jump in black unemployment, was indisputably strong when it comes to one thing: the rotation from foreign-born workers to domestic ones. So you have sort of this rebalancing that's going on in our economy right now. And so you're going to see some negative numbers here and there, like we talked about. But the September native-born workers surged by 676,000 people, 676,000 people. Foreign-born workers dropped in September by 70, which is putting the numbers. Let's see here. Let me get you the exact numbers. The number of foreign-born workers has slumped from a record 33.7 million in March 2025 to 32.1 million, a drop of 1.6 million. This has been offset by a slow but consistent increase in native-born workers, which had been unchanged for 6 years, since 2019 until the start of 2025. So it's kind of hard to see the graph, but the red is foreign-born workers has continued to outpace American worker jobs added, and it's taken a huge drop since the rebalancing of our economy and the deportation of so many illegal immigrants. So This is the way for the future of a prosperous United States of America. Is Americans need to be working, and they don't need to have jobs taken from them by non-Americans if you want a sustainable economy and future. All right. We look at the situation related to this ridiculous lawfare, and Mike Davis points out the president of the United States must get permission of a federal judge now before pressure washing or power washing a White House staff building. Unreal. All these federal judges, particularly in D.C., he says, wonder why the American people increasingly loathe them. He's pointing to this story here where the Trump administration had to agree not to repaint or power wash the Eisenhower Executive Office building through December 31st, allowing a judge more time to consider a lawsuit opposing a repainting plan. What in the heck are these people up to? They literally oppose President Trump updating, refreshing the look of these buildings, and they're using lawfare and judges to try to stop it. I mean, this is unreal. He's a freaking president of the United States. He can't call for someone to clean up a building. This is ridiculous. Anyway, let's see. Same with the East Wing, right? Let's see here. Okay, we got people in the chat saying, well, America was built on migrants. Yes, it was in the beginning. And those people assimilated and became American. What you're seeing in these numbers, largely, you can call them foreign-born workers, but we're talking about illegal immigrant jobs. Make no mistake. Some of them, I'm sure, are legal immigrants. But if you want to sustain your country, more people from the country, Americans, have to be getting jobs over people not from this country. Otherwise, it's unsustainable. Just think about it from a math standpoint. It is unsustainable if people from outside of your country are coming in and getting more jobs than the people inside the country. And when you add new jobs, if they're all going to people other than Americans, at some point, there's going to be a tipping point, and you don't have a future. You don't have a future. Now, you could argue, well, it's because Americans don't want to do those jobs. And I would say, yeah, that's part of the problem. Americans need to quit being so selective on what they will or will not do and get to work, which is another reason why you need to crack down on SNAP and making people reapply so you can actually tell who really needs it versus who's just taking it. And that makes some people hungry. Good. If you're a able-bodied person, especially a man, and you're not working and you're receiving government benefits, shame on you. Get to work. Well, I don't want to do that job. I'm holding out for a management position. No, you need to get down on the ground and scrub some toilets. That's what you need to do, because that's work. And dignity comes from work. And I would rather scrub toilets if I were able than take a handout to feed my family. That is the attitude more people need to have, not the government owes me something. Rather, what can I do to contribute to society? I've scrubbed toilets as well for work. Okay, mind you, I've done it. I didn't want to stay there doing that. It's not the only thing I did, but that was part of my job. You continue to do a good job, which allows for opportunities to advance, and you keep working, you keep working harder, you learn, you educate yourself, you get better at what you're doing, and you work your way up to a better job. That's how it works, but you got to start somewhere, and sitting on the couch, eating fudge rounds at the expense of the American taxpayer is not it. And so that's another reason. From the jobs number standpoint, foreign-born workers have been taking most of the jobs. Well, Americans won't do them. It's time to change that. One of the ways we change that is people get hungry and they'll go to work. The Bible says you don't work, you don't eat. Now, if somebody's disabled or not able to do it, these are different circumstances, but let me tell you, those are the exceptions and not the rule. So let's not define our argument or your disagreement with the truth here based on a very small minority versus the majority of who is taking these benefits that should not be taking them. Okay, these things all work together, though. You cut down on the fraud and SNAP, and you get people hungry that are able-bodied and go to work and do some of these jobs and have a sustainable future. You don't have a sustainable future if Americans aren't occupying the new jobs that are added to this economy. It's math. All right, in a immigration ruling from the Supreme Court, 5-4 ruling, they have confirmed that President Trump can, C-A-N, affirmative, can use the 1798 Alien Enemies Act to treat Tren de Aragua as what it is, an invading foreign force. That means no more endless appeals, no more activist judges blocking deportations. Venezuelan gang members can be rounded up and shipped straight to El Salvador's mega prison. A historic win for border sovereignty and law and order. That's from Jim Ferguson. And so a big win for the Trump administration. We'll play some of that for you here.
The Supreme Court just cleared the way for Trump to deport illegals even faster. The High Court ruled that Trump can use the Alien Enemies Act to send Venezuelan gangbangers to a mega prison in El Salvador. This is a huge ruling in Trump's favor and a major win for the country. After, as you know, D.C. Judge James Boasberg ordered a stop to the deportations. So this is pretty significant. These deportations, Caroline, can keep going.
This is a massive legal victory, Jesse, a massive victory for law and order and for our constitutional republic and the sovereignty of the United States of America. We called on the Supreme Court to rein in these activist judges like Judge Boasberg, who was completely out of line in trying to say that the president didn't have the executive authority to deport foreign terrorists off of our soil. We have always maintained the position at the White House that the president was well within his constitutional authority to do so. And this decision proves that President Trump and our administration have always been right from the beginning. He will continue to utilize the Alien Enemies Act to remove foreign terrorists and Tren de Aragua members, vicious gang members from American communities. And because of this ruling, the United States of America is a much safer place. Our team will get to work tomorrow to deport these heinous, violent foreign terrorists from our neighborhoods.
All right. And you see people, these uneducated, very ignorant, never worked a day in their life people in the chat on YouTube who say, oh, it's a sad day for the Supreme Court. Again, Democrats siding with the gang members, siding with these people that have wreaked havoc, murder, rape, and other crimes on the American people. Whose side are you on? America or everyone else? The criminals or the victims? History will not be kind to your position because it's absolutely, utterly ridiculous. All right, let's talk a little bit about this story. Richard Grenell, who happens to be a gay man, who was one of the first ever gay cabinet members. You know, all these people say that Donald Trump is this, Donald Trump is that. He didn't seem to discriminate. Richard Grenell chiming in on this story from CBS News. David Maltinsky, a 16-year FBI employee who is weeks away from being elevated to the position of agent, filed a lawsuit alleging he was fired because he had a pride flag draped near his desk. I mean, can you imagine? If I worked somewhere and someone had a pride flag draped over their desk, I'd be like, okay, I guess that's like the only thing you're about, huh? Like that's your main identity is your pride. Anyway, he says he was not given the advancement opportunity because he's gay.
Were you surprised when
you got the word you were to leave?
I wasn't surprised. I was definitely disappointed. I knew, not truly firsthand, but I knew I was on a list. There was fear after the administration came in that they were going to start looking at all of our personnel files where some of us did self-identify our sexual orientation. Some people did identify as trans. So there was fear early on that DOJ was going to collect this and they were going to curate a list and get rid of the undesirables.
You say it pretty casually, but it's pretty powerful to hear that phrase. You say you were likely on a list. That's quite something.
It's concerning.
On a list of gays. Okay. Again, there's no there's no historical evidence that the Trump administration has singled out and targeted gays. In fact, on the contrary, as case in point here with Richard Grenell, if somebody's good at their job, it didn't matter if you were gay or not. No matter how gay you are, if you were good at your job, the Trump administration would hire you. Richard Grenell is case in point, and he comments specifically on this allegation from this guy that says he was fired for being gay. Richard Grenell says he wasn't fired for being gay. He was fired for being incompetent, which is worse than being gay. He worked there for 16 years and yet still wasn't promoted to an agent. Why didn't Biden promote him? Asked Richard Grenell. Why can't reporters do actual journalism? That's a great question. He says Kash Patel helped raise money for gay conservatives. This attack is a stain on the McFarland, this reporter's career. Shame on CBS for allowing this type of trash to get through editors who fact-checked this piece. Fired for being gay. I was being targeted. There was a gay list that I was on, and they were targeting me. I mean, come on. I mean, we've all seen the clip by now, haven't we? Gays for Trump, is at Mar-a-Lago. He was asking, these different groups and was going to acknowledge them at this fundraiser. Where's gays for Trump? Where's gays for Trump? Oh, you don't look gay. I mean, it was hilarious. One of the funniest things he ever said was he like, "You're gay, get out of here." And he was just like, "Oh, you don't look gay." I mean, it was so funny. And all the people there, including the gay people, laughed a lot. Everyone was feeling gay in the happy sense. So this is ridiculous. This is called, I was fired, and so I'm going to use a reason that I can try to exploit to get attention and to make accusations, because no one wants to say, "Oh, no. Oh, so sorry we fired you." The days of not firing somebody because they are gay are over. Because people would be like, "Oh, we can't fire them. They're a protected class. He's gay. Oh, well, there's continue to let incompetence happen." Yeah, because you can't fire a gay, Bob, right? No. If you're not doing a good job, no matter what you do in your personal life, it shouldn't matter. You're fired. Okay. And that's where things have gone with this reversal of all this DEI madness. But some people still are triggered and mad. And that is where we meet Rosie O'Donnell for today's Triggered Liberal.
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
All right, so Rosie O'Donnell calling Trump calling him an adjudicated rapist. Adjudicated rapist. Basically, he's been charged and found guilty of being a rapist. We never thought we'd be living where we're living now. This is what she said. Now, you remember George Stephanopoulos got sued, and ABC had to pay $16 million for saying that he was a rapist, which that has never, ever, ever happened in a court. They alleged it. The jury didn't find him guilty of that. They said, what was it? Sexual misconduct or something like that. I mean, the one charge that was being alleged, what the whole case was built on with E. Jean Carroll was, he raped me. Even the jury said, no, he didn't. He didn't rape you. And that's to say, no one could prove that they were ever in the same place at the same time anyway, and a bazillion holes in this woman's story. But anyway, the rapist title, guilty, convicted of being a rapist, has never happened. But that didn't stop Rosie O'Donnell.
We never thought we'd be living what we're living right now. Never. Who thought it? Did you think it? In a million years. That they would reelect the man who orchestrated an insurrection against the government? They would reelect that guy with all the charges of sex abuse and the adjudicated rapist. And then I just saw this thing today about all the cases he settled with children, children's families, accusations about him that he chose to settle. Okay, when are we going to be able to go, we're grown up enough to understand that this kind of deviant, psychotic, mentally ill behavior goes on at the highest level sometimes. And no matter where it goes on, it is our duty to stop it.
An adjudicated rapist. That's a pretty tall, false allegation from Rosie O'Donnell. Okay, Rosie O'Donnell. Jonathan Turley, law expert, has chimed in on this and says, Rosie O'Donnell just claimed to her 2.9 million TikTok followers that the president is an adjudicated rapist and previously settled child abuse cases. In doing so, she may have handed Trump a golden opportunity for a defamation argument. Unless O'Donnell can argue truth as a defense with credible support from such settlements, she may have just given Trump a strong basis to sue his longtime critic. There's no love lost between the two, but there could be soon a defamation action. And so what Jonathan Turley spells out here in this piece at jonathanturley.org regarding these allegations, saying Trump previously sued over the claim that he's a rapist, right? And when it comes to George Stephanopoulos, and even though E. Jean Carroll alleged it and a jury didn't find him guilty of rape, he was never legally adjudicated to be a rapist. He said the addition of the word adjudicated, because it's so specific and legal, could move this claim of Rosie's outside of just mere opinion, because it was specific and stating a legal parameter around it, a legal title to it. Even without the word, though, Turley argues it's considered to be a defamatory claim. Also, the second claim about settling with children's families over abuse cases, he says it's not clear, but Reuters reported months ago about fake headlines on the internet claiming that prosecutors were considering child molestation charges against Trump. Reuters, a very liberal outlet, said that those were fake. Okay? So Rosie O'Donnell may have just stepped in it big time because of her blindness from Trump derangement syndrome. Rosie, I hope you got a lot of money to pay up.
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
All right, I want to thank you for being here. Of course, we want you to hit the thumbs up on this live or heart this post on X and repost. We want you to share this broadcast wherever you can. Tell your friends about it. Follow me on whatever platform you happen to be watching. But specifically, if you have an X account, please follow me on X at Ike Wingate. It's on the bottom of your screen there, at Ike Wingate on X, trying to build a following there. Thank you to our friends watching on Right Side Broadcasting. We will be with you as scheduling allows. We will be back next week before Thanksgiving to do another show, so make sure you set your notifications on as well. If you would like to help us cover our costs, you can do so via Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com. $5-10, whatever it is, just helps us cover our subscriptions and technology and things like that. Of course, you can also give right there in the chat on Rumble. Bree was offering to do a match of up to $100 if we got some contributions there in the chat. I don't know that we met that, but let me know if you did. But yeah, Rosie O'Donnell just making up stuff just out of thin air. You know what I'm saying? Before we go, I do want to play this clip. Everyone got crazy about Donald Trump allegedly calling a reporter Piggy. Quiet, Piggy. Some say it was Peggy. We really don't know. Not sure, but you may recall that President Biden called a guy fat. Literally just said quiet, right? Was it quiet fat? No, I don't think he said quiet fat. What was it actually? I don't know. Take a look at this clip.
Set up my son to work in an oil company. Isn't that what you said? Get your words straight, Jack.
That's what I hear on MSNBC.
You don't hear that in MSNBC. You did not hear that at all. What you heard, look, okay, I'm not going to get in an argument with you, man. Well, yeah, you do, but look, fat, look, here's the deal. Here's the deal.
He said, look, fat, here's the deal. So, yeah, save the outrage when it comes to President Trump. I don't think anyone was going crazy when President Biden said, hey, look, fat, look. I thought that was his name. Yeah, I bet you did. Thank you guys so much for being here. Remember, the truth is what matters. It's not time to back down. It's time to double down, my friends. It's not time to back down. It is time to double down because the truth matters. Thanks for being here and have a great day.
Rate, subscribe, and leave a review. It's how we get the word out amidst the chaos. Thanks for listening to the Ike Wingate Show.